Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we're talking about something that affects us all, whether we're parents, children, or both: emotional scars. These aren't caused by one big, dramatic event. More often, they're the result of small, repeated habits that parents, often with the best intentions, pass down without even realizing it. Understanding these patterns is the first step to healing and breaking the cycle. So, let's explore 10 ways these wounds are formed. First up is emotional neglect. This is when parents provide for a child's physical needs, food, a home, schooling, but aren't there emotionally. They don't offer comfort, attention, or a sense of emotional safety. The child is physically cared for but emotionally alone. This creates a deep wound because the child learns powerful, damaging lessons. My feelings don't matter. I shouldn't bother people with my emotions. Love is something I have to earn. As these children grow up, they often become adults who suppress their feelings, avoid vulnerability at all costs, and find it incredibly difficult to form close, trusting relationships. They learned early on that their inner world was a burden, so they keep it locked away. Next is harsh criticism and the demand for perfection. Parents who constantly correct their kids, compare them to others, or push them relentlessly hard create a wound called conditional self-worth. The child's inner voice starts to echo what they hear over and over. You're not good enough. You have to do better. Why can't you be more like your brother or sister? Over time, this constant pressure shapes their entire personality. They begin to fear making mistakes, which stifles creativity and risk-taking. They develop chronic anxiety, always worried about falling short. They often become people pleasers, desperate for the approval they never felt they had. As adults, they struggle with a deep-seated lack of confidence. Even parents who genuinely mean well can inflict this damage by being overly critical, not realizing they're programming their child's inner voice to be a harsh critic for life. The third pattern is growing up in a home without safety. A child's nervous system is like a sponge, and it absorbs the environment around it. When home is a place of shouting, threats, violence, or unpredictable moods, a child learns to live in survival mode. When punishment replaces communication, there's no room for learning or trust. The child's brain wires itself for danger, internalizing the belief that danger is everywhere and I must always be on alert. This creates lasting emotional scars like hypervigilance, always scanning for threats, anxiety disorders, and a profound difficulty in trusting others. For many, it leads to emotional shutdown as a coping mechanism. A child can only learn to be calm in a calm environment. They can't learn it in chaos. Number 4 is using shame as a form of discipline. It's crucial to understand the difference between guilt and shame. Guilt says, I did something wrong. It's about a behavior. Shame, on the other hand, says, I am something wrong. It attacks a person's core identity. Parents create shame wounds with phrases like, You're embarrassing me. What's wrong with you? You're being so dramatic. Or, I wish you were more like your sister. Shame is one of the most toxic emotional wounds a child can carry. It teaches them to hide their true selves for fear of being judged. It instills a fundamental feeling of being not enough, which sabotages relationships, self-love, and can lead them to settle for less than they deserve in life because deep down they feel unworthy. The fifth way parents can cause harm is by overprotecting instead of empowering. This one might seem surprising because it doesn't involve shouting or punishment. In fact, it often comes from a place of intense love. But when parents solve every problem for their child, shelter them from every challenge, make all their decisions, and prevent them from experiencing any discomfort, they're sending a powerful, damaging message. That message is, you can't handle life. You're not capable. This creates adults with fragile self-esteem, a paralyzing fear of failure, and a chronic lack of independence. They struggle with anxiety and find it incredibly difficult to make decisions because they were never given the chance to develop their own judgment and resilience. Number 6 is invalidating a child's feelings. This happens when parents laugh at a child's emotions, tell them to stop crying, dismiss them as too sensitive, or outright punish them for showing big feelings. Emotional invalidation is a profound betrayal for a child. It teaches them not to trust their own internal compass. They learn that crying is a sign of weakness, that expressing their feelings is wrong, and that the safest thing to do is to bottle everything up. This creates adults who feel constantly misunderstood because they were never taught how to communicate their needs. They carry this unhealed pain into their own relationships, often struggling to express themselves or even identify what they're feeling in the first place. At number 7, we have using love as a currency. This is when love and affection are conditional. They are given only when the child behaves perfectly, achieves something notable, or satisfies the parent's expectations. This is not true, unconditional love. It's a transaction, and it hurts deeply. It teaches the child a dangerous lesson. Love must be earned. They come to believe, if I disappoint people, they will abandon me. And I don't deserve love just for being who I am. This creates adults with insecure attachment styles. They might desperately cling to relationships, even toxic ones, or constantly apologize for their existence, always trying to earn their place. They live with a persistent, gnawing feeling that they are not inherently worthy of love. 8th is when parents ignore their own trauma. Children are emotional sponges. They absorb everything. When parents haven't healed from their own past wounds, they often unconsciously repeat the same harmful patterns. This can manifest as emotional instability, explosive anger, emotional coldness, or unhealthy communication. They might project their own insecurities onto their children or lack the empathy to connect with what their child is feeling. The cycle continues because unhealed parents unintentionally create wounded children, who are then at risk of becoming wounded adults themselves. Healing isn't just for you. It's for the generations that come after you. 9th on our list is making children responsible for adult problems. This is a role reversal known as parentification. It happens when a child is forced to become a mediator in their parents' fights, a therapist for their parents' emotional issues, a secret keeper, or even a substitute partner. This robs a child of their childhood. It forces them to grow up too fast, burdening them with anxiety and a sense of responsibility for everyone's happiness. As adults, they often carry chronic guilt, feeling like they're failing if everyone around them isn't okay. Children deserve to be children. They need to feel protected and cared for, not be the caretakers themselves. Finally, number 10 is comparing children to siblings or others. Every time a parent says, "Why can't you be more like your brother?" or "Look how well your cousin is doing in school," they're sending a devastating message. The message is, you're not good enough as you are. Someone else is better than you. Your natural personality is wrong. This comparison doesn't motivate. It destroys. It erodes self-esteem, confuses a child's sense of identity, and shatters their confidence. It can also breed resentment and poison sibling relationships for life. These comparison wounds are incredibly persistent and can echo in a person's mind for decades, fueling a lifelong feeling of inadequacy. It is so important to remember that most of these emotional scars aren't created out of cruelty or malice. They're often born from a parent's own unhealed trauma, a lack of awareness, or simply repeating the parenting styles they learned from their own parents. But awareness is everything. Understanding these wounds is the powerful first step toward healing, changing, and breaking the cycle for good. Thank you so much for watching. If this resonated with you, please consider liking this video and subscribing for more content. See you next time.